Welcome back. My name is Alpha Mike 1. I am currently playing 7 Days to Die. I spend a lot of my time in this game looting. There's a wide variety of containers that hold all types of goodies that are going to help me survive and thrive in this post-apocalyptic world. Unfortunately, my brothers and I have not been able to find the calipers that we need to move ourselves along in the next stage of our zombie killing evolution. We've been biding our time, waiting the 30 days for the loot to respawn. So we've been staying away from the store, waiting for the loot to respawn. And then the other day I was talking to a friend and he told me that if we go too close to this store, the loot will not respawn. That set us in a bit of a panic because we drive past this building almost every other night. So at that point we look at the in-game description and it's a bit vague. It doesn't help much. It just says the amount of time it takes the loot to respawn if no player is near. So with that in mind, I wanted to do some testing and I wanted to find out exactly where I can be, how close I can get without affecting the respawn, and I also want to know exactly when the loot respawns. And while I'm at it, I'd like to know if I do get too close or go in the wrong place, does that stop the clock? Does it reset the clock? Does it pause the clock? So with that in mind, let's move to the lab and do some testing. The first thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to shorten the amount of time it takes for this loot to respawn. So we'll go to Game Options and Modded Options. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the enemies off just to make life easier. And then the loot respawn time, the default is 30, and I'm going to lower that down to 5 days. And then for my own sanity, I'm going to turn the airdrops off because these days are going to get real short, so it's going to be dropping them like crazy. And then we'll turn it down to 10 real minutes for each day to pass. So that'll be 50 minutes. It'll only take 50 minutes for loot to respawn. My first theory was that if I was outside of a building, then I would not affect the loot respawning. But in my testing, I came to find out that it was sheer proximity. So at this stage of the game, I'm trying to find out exactly what the distance is. What the area of effect is that will stop the respawn clock. So I conveniently found this line of containers, and I'm going to set myself 7 blocks away from the first container, about 13 blocks away from that last container, and I want to know the exact distance. So I've waited exactly 5 days to the minute, and this is 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 blocks away. That is not respawned. And then on the 8th block, that has respawned. So I had a good idea that was the distance. So here I've pretty much confirmed that I need to be 8 blocks away for the loot to respawn. Now I want to test this again. I want to run another test here. I've got 2 containers that are both 8 blocks away from me. And I want to double confirm that it is indeed 8 blocks. And I also want to do a little testing with the time. I want to know exactly when the loot respawns. So I've already looted these, but I'm just going to double check them to start the clock. And now I'm outside the 8 block radius. And I know that I can go by a 24-hour clock to the minute and the loot will respawn. But let's check and see if at midnight, as soon as it clicks over to that 5th day, if the loot will respawn. And it has not. So then we now know that the respawn clock is set to 24-hour days rather than calendar days. So you need to pay attention to the day and time you were last within that 8 block radius of the container in question. And now for this one, we're confirming the 8 blocks and the 5 24-hour days. That has respawned. So one last thing I want to check. I want to see if entering that 8 block radius resets or merely pauses the spawn clock. Now when I was last near that trash bag, I was there for about 30 game minutes. And now I have waited 9 game hours. So, which should be more than enough time. If it was merely a pause, that it should have respawned by now. And it has not. So I know that it resets the clock if I enter that radius. With that in mind, I wanted to check a few other things because I tend to make my base above established buildings like Passing Gas or Pop-Up Hills. So I wanted to see if my presence affected the spawn. So things like bedrolls and working forges, to see if they will stop the loot from respawning, and they do not. So that's good news. So now let's just take a quick look at what will and what will not respawn. If you take a look at the front of this Passing Gas, there was a light fixture to the right of that door there. There was also some cinder blocks and a car and a 50-gallon gas drum that have not respawned. I was really hoping the 50-gallon gas drums would respawn, and I was kind of hoping the cars would respawn, but that's kind of confirmation there that that doesn't happen. And also, I forgot to mention earlier that if you leave any items in a container, that container will not respawn new loot. This is good news that the gas pumps do respawn gas. And also cars respawn loot. So I'll leave it up to you whether you want to save them as a lootable container or if you want to tear them down for their components. Now that I have a better understanding of exactly how this respawn mechanic works, my basic strategy is to put a sign in front of important buildings with the day and time that I was last there. So each time I cruise by, I can check it and see if it's ready to go again. I'm Alpha Mike 1. Thank you so much for watching.